Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves in an era of entertainment where Star Wars no longer holds any cultural significance and has to resort to cheap tricks in order to drum up some kind of publicity. Let that sink in for a moment. This was once one of, if not the most, profitable franchise in cinematic history. There was a time when a Star Wars movie would drop and guaranteed public interest would be there. And now the franchise has been reduced to awful streaming shows that nobody gives a shit about. But that hasn't stopped Lucasfilm from trying to dip their toes back into the cinematic realm. The only issue with that is they are so incompetent, creatively, that the films they typically have planned usually never see the light of day. Star Wars lost its fan base because the people in charge of Star Wars do not understand Star Wars. So what does Lucasfilm do to try to dig themselves out of this hole that they put themselves in? Well, they double down, of course, because that's what the most incompetent, tone-deaf movie studios do in the modern era. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Before I get into my thoughts on this subject, I want to encourage everyone to not fall for the bait. Truthfully, again, I don't think anyone really gives a shit enough about Star Wars anymore to have any kind of legit emotional reaction to this.
How can you not care?
Like this.
But the truth is that it's clear to me now more than ever that articles like this, or quotes like this, are no longer put out to drum up genuine interest in this film, because let's face it, there's probably not much to be interested in anyway. Things like this are said now to get clicks, to start drama, and to distract everyone from the real problems that are going on. What do I talk about on this channel every single time one of these big budget movies flops? Usually they resort to deflection. And this is just another form of that. This is a way for Lucasfilm to start building a narrative and to plant the seed for an inevitable excuse if this film should not succeed financially. Anything to distract people from the fact that they are creatively bankrupt overall.
Something very familiar about all this.
Don't believe me? All you really have to do is take your blinders off and read this quote and see it for what it actually is. This quote is either verbal diarrhea being spewed from someone who clearly has no knowledge of the history of Star Wars, or she's just saying things that she doesn't actually believe just to get a rise out of people. And again, I would urge everyone to not take the bait. We've seen this all before. Let me be very clear, because there seems to be some confusion as to why I make videos like this. This is not about hate. I would actually have to feel something towards Star Wars, or this director for that matter, in order to be able to muster up a genuine emotional reaction to something like this. The truth is that I have no feelings as it pertains to the future of Star Wars because I'm already checked out. Me making videos about subjects like this is about exposing the truth, and that's what it's always been about. How many times have we been told as a fan base that if we are not on board with the current direction of Star Wars, that says more about our character than it says about the quality of the product?
Me, right?
That's what Lucasfilm and the media want everyone to believe. They are quite literally trying to bully you with labels that have no meaning into being silent. But I refuse to be silent in any situation where I see very clear lies and deception. So Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, director of the upcoming new Jedi Order movie that will feature the return of Rey Palpatine, had this to say about the project. Quote, "I'm very thrilled about the project because I feel like what we are about to create is something very special. And we're in 2024 now, and it's about time that we had a woman come forward to shape a story in a galaxy far, far away."
That's bait.
Now, to be clear, I don't care if you're a man, a woman, or a blue-skinned alien. If you had a legitimate, great idea about how to restore Star Wars to its former glory, then you would have my support. But this is the mistake that Sharmeen made, and that a lot of other people in Hollywood make anytime they're talking about their upcoming projects. Because she's already negatively impacting the perception that the general public will have of her film. Now, to be clear, this movie was always going to face an uphill battle by featuring a character and a time period in Star Wars lore that not a lot of people have interest in. But by saying what she's saying in her quote, she's really not doing her movie any favors. Because as Star Wars fans, past and present, we really don't care about the gender of the person who is making the next Star Wars film. We care about what that person is bringing to the table creatively. Now maybe this director has a ton of great new ideas, but this isn't how you sell an already fractured fan base on the prospect of getting invested in your ideas. For better or worse, all this is really going to do is turn more people away and create more division because she is in fact speaking divisively.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
People still want to be entertained. They want escapism, no matter who is supplying it to us. But you instantly break that immersion when you start off promoting your movie by making it about everything except what's actually going to be on screen. That's what this is about. It's what it's always been about. It's about quality, period. You can turn this into a gender war all you want and say that people who aren't supporting this movie are misogynistic, but we are at a point where a lot of that talk now falls on deaf ears because people know the truth. And that's that Lucasfilm doesn't understand Star Wars and that ideology has taken precedence over storytelling. To push this even further, does no one else find it disrespectful that these comments are basically discrediting the contributions that females have already made to this franchise? People like Marsha Lucas, and yes, even Carrie Fisher. Or if that's not current enough for you, what about Bryce Dallas Howard? Or Deborah Chow working on The Mandalorian? Or hell, even Kathleen Kennedy herself, who has been in charge of the creative direction of Star Wars for several years now.
Here she comes to wreck the day!
To me, this came off as the words of a director who is just talking to hear herself speak. She has no knowledge of the history of this franchise, and it shows. And these are the people that you expect me and many others to blindly place our faith in. These are the people that Lucasfilm hires to save their franchise. This came off as incredibly disingenuous, as usual, and nothing more than bait being used to try to get people to talk about this already dead brand. Now you might call me a hypocrite for making this video having said that, but the reality is that as quickly as people began talking about this topic, it will just as quickly be forgotten in a short amount of time. Because that's where Star Wars is right now. It is entirely possible that we will not hear another peep about this movie, either from the studio or the fans. That is until we ultimately get an announcement sometime down the line that this movie has been canceled just like its predecessors. Guess who's back for 2024? Surprise, surprise! Disney Star Wars is once again making all the sexists and misogynists expose themselves on the internet. Does it bother you that much that this woman is likely going to do Star Wars better than your savior, George Lucas? Newsflash, this franchise doesn't belong to male fans anymore. The Force is female, in case you didn't hear. I can't wait for all of you to eat crow when this new Rey movie becomes a smash hit. Maybe then you'll take a long, hard look at yourself and go outside and touch grass, instead of sitting in your mother's basement and being an incel that we all know that you are. So this one goes out to Sharmeen and Rey Skywalker. Yes, Queen!
Y'all be cool. Right on.